Okay, so this video is about how how being rich, you know, has real, and even saying those words, it feels a bit strange to me saying how being rich, because I've I've I guess I switched lifestyle for so long to go on a journey to learn more about myself and to find my path, that just making the statement of being rich seems odd to me, but that's the reality of the life that I experienced for a very long time since I've been a child. So I guess some people want to get rich, but and there are different degrees of riches. There are different degrees of riches, but I'm from a background where I'll get into more details of um, as we go along in the video. So I'm Michelle Samuels for White Gold's ID, and today's video is about some truth about myself, about why I decided to do the channel, how it works in conjunction with my goals, what being rich has been like throughout my lifetime, and how I switched from being rich to basically being poor, and the things I endured as a result of that. Okay, so let's get into it. All right. Well, I'm from a background of very hardworking people. I have a mom and dad who came from practically nothing to work and overcome quite a lot. And I also have a stepfather that, that my mom married, and they overcame a lot as well. So I'm not from a background where we were handed things quite easily. We had to work very hard. And they had to work more hard than I did, if I'm really honest about it, because growing up, even when we weren't rich, we could you could say that we were never really in need as children. So I mean, we always had like people working for us. That was just a standard way of our lives, and the lifestyle that we knew to be true. So we always had nannies. We call them helpers or nannies. We always had extra classes. Always had holidays abroad. We always had like the lifestyle, and certain cash access wasn't a problem as far as I knew, because I was just a child in the game, and most of the information wasn't really shared with me. I think on some level I was exposed, but on some level I had a very guarded life in terms of um, not really needing anything much. Now, why is this video relevant? It's very relevant because you see on my life path what I decided to do in order to find myself. And I say find myself because sometimes you're in a specific setting and you think you know your identity, but your identity changes when you move away from that environment. And sometimes you can even forget who you really are. So it's very important to stay focused on what your values are and what you're willing to. It's almost like negotiate on it, or what challenges are you willing to overcome? What do you want to get out of the things that you desire to get? Now, you after working very hard, there was a lot of success in my family, different people within my family structure. So I had the great luxury of being able to do nothing really. I had the great luxury of just, I mean, I worked for the airline at one point, and I mean, I was flying back and forth, just going shopping in Miami just to go to a party in the night, and most of my friends that I associated with, they were well off as well, but it didn't seem as if it was a big deal because it was very natural to us. Now, at some point, what the life experience taught me was that I didn't like who I was becoming as a person. I didn't understand who I was, And in order to make decisions, or I didn't know how to make decisions, it was all about what my parents would decide, or I was just going along with everything, like being blown in the wind, sort of, without being blown in the wind. And I went through, our families went through our different challenges as individual people, and things that aren't relevant to this video, because we want to stay focused on being rich. Now, being rich is very easy. Some people wish for the lifestyle that I've had in my time. So I had family that was, we'd do things like um go to the country. We'd spend a lot of time together as family. Going out was standard, doing home events was standard. At one point, we would go, and my relatives would, have a boat or whatever. We go water ski. We go to Montego Bay, because I'm from Jamaica, and we just tour the island sometimes, and just growing up as well, just to say that I went to one of the best schools, the top schools, and education was not compromised. I was always pushed in the direction of being great without doing anything at all. We're just basically taking care of myself, and being taken care of more than even taking care of myself, because some standard things I did not know. Now, what I did on the life path is that I did a switch. I pulled away from my family, pulled away completely, and decided to go on my own journey. Now, remember my experience, well, not remember, but my experiences with my family. Sometimes I didn't even own a vehicle, because I had access to so many vehicles that either somebody in my family would have, or it didn't necessitate it, like we'd take like a private car to go to wherever we're going, but it was never a situation where we would take the bus or anything like that. But remember, we're coming from a background of being poor, but my experience wasn't that. It was more my parents working to overcome certain things and reach towards certain things. And one of the great challenges that I was facing was trying to understand, where do I stand in all of this, and what am I, what will I achieve? What is gonna be mine from the viewpoint of me going, towards my own goals and so on. Now, I think my parents had a specific vision in mind for how my life should be. So I should go to the top girls' school, excel at the highest level, get into a great job. I would be all sorted out basically. I would only pay for my own personal pleasures and expenses, and if I needed access to anything else, that it would be facilitated for me. But there were a lot of hidden rifts and all that within the way we operated, and we were very competitive by nature without even realizing it as well. So I had some experiences that pushed me in the direction of going on my own. So I decided to go in the direction of going on my own. I had no idea it would have been so difficult. Now, this is not something that I'd wish for anybody, but I can tell you it's been one of the great experiences of my life that is basically shaping me to be the greater version of myself. And I did not realize it would take me to where it's taken me, and for me to be doing this channel, and to be going after the things that going after in terms of goal setting, in terms of aspirations, in terms of just the knowledge I've acquired about the realization of myself on the path. There is no value I can really put on that. It's not a money figure. However, when you're on your own now, and remember, being rich, you have that structure, family support to a certain degree, you have access, you have money, you go out there, you're going to be on your own now. You have no money. There is no money. You have to find ways to be able to sustain yourself and so on. Now remember, there is always home, there's always family. So when I was going on this path, I was always looking back, thinking, at some point there's always home. I can always run home and be rescued. Things went really badly. Things went really badly because being on your own when nobody knows who you are, or even you haven't told them what background you're from, people make a lot of assumptions about you. And that's what I've realized. They make a lot of assumptions about you, and most of the assumptions is on the basis of you being less than, less than on some levels, less than, and treated less than. But if it was necessary for me to almost create a mask to protect myself, because I'd seen a lot of things about what money could, how money and being rich could influence people's decisions and impact their lives in positive and negative ways. So I decided to create a mask. Most of the information I didn't tell people about what my lifestyle was like, where I was from, basically that maybe my mom would have said at some point I was quite spoiled. Most of us were in my family. Um, but what I've learned from being poor, and this is not something I'd wish for anybody, is that people do treat you less than. So they basically make a lot of assumptions about where you come from as well, and that automatically they think if you're from a certain place that your lifestyle is going to be, let's just say, mediocre, or in their eyes, because mediocrity to me, and there's value in communities, families, and homes within the lifestyle of people who don't generate as much income as the upper class lifestyle, or middle class, or upper middle class, because you had different levels of class where I came from. So when in this new environment now, I was quite exposed. I didn't have any protection. No family, nobody to call, and I had to find ways to be able to create a storyline that would make me of more value to not only myself, but the intention was to create more value for my family overall. Because as we improve as individuals, then I would automatically, because of my commitment to family and so on, it's like the family would be better off. Now, I must establish that my parents weren't happy about this whole decision that I made to go on my own. To be honest, I cared, but I didn't much care, because my curiosity to be independent and to push forward in the direction of this. It was quite uncertain. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just trying to look ahead and think about what the future would have been like in the event that what the future would have been like in the event that I had to the circumstances changed, or the world changed, or things changed on a level that or things changed on a level that like we were, the riches would have been challenged on some level, or whatever it was. Now, what happened was that I recognized that when people think that you're rich, they treat you differently. They're nicer, more accommodating, more willing to assist. They're happy that you don't have to ask them for anything, or any, and if you do ask them, well, it's okay, because on some level there's some association with you, and who you are makes a big difference. But I moved into a new environment, and that new environment, who I was, didn't make a difference, or whatever information I had to use, I chose not to. And I experienced a high level of jealousy, for those who jealousy on some level for jealousy on some level over people who even knew where I was from and who I was, and so on. It was just a small proportion, but some people wondered why is it that I wanted more for my life. or why is it that I didn't just stay where I was, or I had to overcome those things that were pushed forward on me that didn't make sense at all, why people were like that. As I observed in being connected to people who have money, or being connected to people who own things and are the people in the society that employ people, that create opportunities, and so on. Being connected to those people, it was very strange for me to experience people on the journey that that were less well off than those people, but they were not as humble. So it's as if they would acquire something, or they would have something, or get something through their hard work efforts or whatever. And it's not even a situation where they have that level of wealth, but there's a high level of arrogance. And if they think somebody is in a lesser position, not everyone, I mean, you have really great people that I've met who they have a lot of money and they're very wealthy, but they're very humble. So there's a lot of stigmas. It's like if these people, like some of these people who weren't rich, saw somebody who was in a lesser position than them, they treated them in such an indignant way. And I know, because I've been in that position, and I've watched people deal with me on a level that I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, why have you chosen to be this way? Because there are so many people that have so much more than you, but you're trying to oppress, or you're trying to treat somebody else badly who you think has less than you. Now, I didn't have anything much, but I was from a family that like I said, it's like, what did I really need? Because I had everything that I wanted. It's just that I didn't acquire certain things for myself. So that was the great challenge for me, and I wanted to learn more about the world. I needed to explore opportunities for the future in the face of change and so on. And I had experiences where I had experiences where people try to take advantage on certain levels, that because they think you have no protection, family, or any support mechanisms, then they try to creep in from the woodworks and be strategic. And if you're not at a level of consciousness and awareness of yourself and your environment, it can be very dangerous for you to even survive the environment. Now, being on my own and being poor, I had to find ways to create opportunities to find food, to be able to just live. Now, I could easily contact my parents and say, we're not from a family where we take things from each other. So if I was short on money or anything, which my mom especially was very disciplined with certain things when it comes on to money and so on. So I would always, more than likely, in some scenarios, I would have to prove that I was responsible. But I was very ignorant, because although my parents had acquired a certain lifestyle and a level of wealth, there are certain things that weren't taught directly to me. I learned through observation, or it was taught, but it was assumed that I wouldn't need it on the path, because I would never really be in need, because everything would be given to me, and I would have followed all the rules, studied, gone to university, so on, get into the job that is expected, drive a nice car, live in a nice home, go to the family for dinner, and just do all the rituals. But for some reason, something was drawing me in the next direction. So I kind of hid myself for a long time. I did a lot of different tasks. I did activities and tasks that, I mean, if I communicate with certain people at home, they would be wondering, what the hell is she thinking? Why is she doing that type of a job? Now, some of the things I decided to do was to do, like, I'd help with some cleaning. Cleaning was one of the things I started to help with. And cleaning was one of the things, because that, I mean, that's what was needed in terms of the labor force and whatever. They didn't care about your level of education and so on. And I wanted to learn how to clean. And the reason why I wanted to learn how to clean was to be able to learn more about how to keep an environment organized and structured and maintained. So while I was doing cleaning, it's as if I was teaching myself. I was teaching myself about how to operate a household, how to maximize the cleanliness of the environment, how to create structures and so on. Now this is in the later part, because in the initial part it was just a whole heap of confusion. I didn't know where the path was taking me. I didn't realize I knew I would there I suppressed a lot of being smart when I was younger, because I realized that some people, they felt a bit like, why does she act like she knows everything, which I didn't. But from an early stage I learned to kind of hide my level of intelligence, and hiding my level of intelligence um started to create a personality in me that wasn't really me. It was like a version of me. And it was only on the path while I was learning the lessons about what it's like from being rich to poor, where I realized that my intelligence would be one of the most important parts of what would determine what I would learn and how I would operate in the new environment, which is the newer, more improved version of myself. So I got treated good and bad. And even some people, they couldn't understand it. They're like, why is she putting herself through all of this? I mean, why would you choose that road when you can choose a luxury lifestyle, basically? Luxury meaning like you can choose a lifestyle that is the complete opposite. Why doesn't she just go home? But I couldn't go home. My values had changed, and there were so many shifts that I had experienced in myself. So when you don't have money and you have responsibilities, you have to become very creative in that it's necessary for you to be flexible. So I did cleaning. At one point, I even took care of old people. And the reason why I took care of old people was because I'd wanted to make sure that when my parents were older, that I was equipped with the skill sets to be able to care for them if necessary. So sometimes I'm negotiating. I'm completely off with money. My relationships rather, they failed very miserably, it would seem at the time. And I was basically on my own with a lot of responsibilities, and I was there was no one person I could call on to say, okay, I have an additional income coming in. So it was a complete fight, and while I was trying to balance home and family, I had to be improving myself while, basically protecting my home, or protecting my family at home in the new environment, and also protecting myself while being able to educate myself, being able to create balance, being able to find myself. But I had no idea in this new environment, not the new environment of the new version of myself, but the environment where I was starting from nothing, that I'd have to come face to face with so many different experiences, like different levels of discrimination, people who operate in a leadership position and they choose not to do what is right. They're going basically based on their own emotions, sometimes manipulation by others who are in positions of power to be able to facilitate money, or to be able to facilitate opportunities, exposure to danger, being in dangerous situations, having to negotiate from the viewpoint, being looked down upon, assuming that, I mean, Anybody, like I say, anybody can be your friend, or anybody can be there for you when they think everything's great, and there's no necessity for you to need them, or they just like to connect with you, or say, oh, there's this family from, oh, my this is that, or my fam, or my relative, my friend, my family, my associate, whatever it is, they're from so and so, they have this, they have that. But when you really, who is really who, when you're really struggling out there, and you have your reputation is gone to shit, really, because everybody's saying, what the hell's going on? Oh, she don't have no money. Oh, she don't have nothing. Oh, she basically faking it right now, because at the end of the day, she's creating something that's not in within the constructs of who she really is, because she doesn't have any money. She's on her own out there. She's exposed. She's disconnected from the family, and she's on her own. She's fishing for help. And I mean, I can help her, but you know what? I'll only help her on a like the bare minimum scale, or I can't really help, but I'll do the best I can to help her. And I'm over in my situation saying, help, help, help. I don't want to go back. I want to move forward and push through the challenges, and push towards my dreams, and push towards my goals, because there's something that that's inside of me that is telling me that there's more to life. And this more to life that I was going after wasn't necessarily financial gain. Financial gain was basically a part of the outcome. Of course, I wanted to be wealthy. I wanted to be wealthy through my own efforts as well. I saw my parents do. Why couldn't I do it? And at the end of the day, to create generational progress and to advance, I had to do my part. It would be like completely wrong for me to deviate from anything other than building on top of what my parents did. So while I was going through these challenges and seeing what the reality of life was like for some of those who are poor, and how people were, even the people that you trust and you know, you believe that they'll be there for you. It really opens your eyes, because nobody owes anybody anything, but it makes you realize that the values that you have aren't necessarily the values that other people share. And people can actually, based on their identity design or their own experiences, try and put you, not put you in a position, but they won't help you on the journey, because they don't want you to get there faster than them. They don't want you to be better than them. It's not a conscious thing. Sometimes it's subconscious. They think, oh, I've overcome so much, why should I make it easy for the next person? And I didn't want to be that type of a person. I didn't want to be the type of person that tried to oppress others. I didn't want to be the old version of myself where, I mean, if somebody's working for us or whatever, I just automatically think I'm entitled, and I'd be whatever personality I wanted to be, meaning like I just acting like a real snob, or just being on my own ass about life, and being around people who are fake, but not realizing that they're fake, because I'm not looking at it from the outside in. I'm actually looking at it inside the environment, and it seems normal. Now, being rich is very good. It's great. It's great, but it's very challenging if you're not prepared, if you don't have the mindset, if you don't have that conscious level of thinking, if you don't overstand, understand, understand self. You live a life that is not your choice. It's not what you would choose if you had the freedom to choose, but you can kind of understand to a certain degree why people would protect you. But then maybe that protection that they're giving you is even dangerous in itself, and you have to learn to protect yourself to see what works and doesn't work for you. So do I know what it's like to be rich? Do I know what it's like to be connected? Do I know what it's like to have to be associated with a lifestyle that is uncompromising, almost like it's just easy? Yes, most definitely. This is not something that I'm going towards that I haven't experienced, but there are different levels. So there are different levels of wealth and there are different levels of experiences. But I had to change myself to see both sides of the coin, to be able to understand people on a larger scale, because I wanted to give back something to the world that, on some level, it came from a very authentic place. So I know what it's like to be hungry. I know what it's like to feel like people treat you like a nobody. I know what it's like when it's assumed that you don't come from anywhere, or you don't have anyone. I know what it's like to actually be on the other side of the coin. And I guess on some level, I had to teach myself. I had to teach myself what it's almost like on the journey. I forced myself to be in the position of other people if I thought that I treated them on any level that was not what that was unfair or degrading, or because my perspective was flawed, or I was ignorant, and I tried to correct all of those things. So while we're doing this the Y Goals ID channel, it's a lot about forming, like, how do you elevate yourself personality wise? How do you understand your own design, which is what I've learned on the journey, which I would never have learned. I would never have learned more about, like, individuals and how they're designed, how they interact with other people, and how the whole like environment and story can be influenced by those factors. I would never be at the level of consciousness. I would never be so receptive to learn. I've gotten exhausted, and now I just want to put in the work to be able to apply the things I've learned and to give back to the world on a higher level. And it was tough. It has been tough, but it's good as well, because you learn how to sacrifice to gain the greater good. You learn to respect others. You learn to value the things you have. You learn to create structure, be organized. You learn to look at things not from the viewpoint of others, meaning, like, not from the viewpoint of what a labeled viewpoint, but from an individual experience perspective. And you learn that, even if you were rich, you were poor, you get rich, you get poor, then you're rich again. It's possible to move on the different tangents. It's never too late, or you don't have to give up just because people tell you all kinds of ideas and concepts about the realities of their experiences, and plant seeds in your mind. Don't do this, do it this way. With good reason, some of them are trying to protect you, but some of them, through trying to protect you, are just being afraid subconsciously of the greater version of you, have an unwillingness to either support, or they just want to basically, they don't want to let you go because they don't know what you're going to do. They don't know how it's going to impact them. So it's less about you and more about them. So your dream is your dream. Your goals are your goals. Can it be done? Of course, most definitely. You can move between state tangents of being poor and move to being rich. And you can move from rich to poor, and you can move from rich to poor and rich again. But who you are in the story is more important than what you gain. Because sometimes what you gain, you don't see the truth behind it, because you're so focused on the material elements of things. So while we're moving forward and we're doing the goals and the planning and all that, it's good to reflect on self and to understand that these material things that we go after, that they easily shift the trajectory of things, and they shift how people react towards you, and they shift and what authenticity and truth are you searching for on the path. Because inevitably the money will come. Money is there, it's out there. And I know it sounds easy for me to say, but It really wasn't, because I had to be able to stand up and say, you know what, I've been there, I've struggled, I've suffered, I've overcome challenges, I've been through the hurdles, I've done the work that nobody else would want to do. I've seen people, I met people who had no money, who had more character than people who do, and the reverse is true. I've been around very wealthy people that are filled with great characters. So some of it, the information that is being given, the rich is this, the rich is that. Some there's truth in it, but some of it is flawed as well. So Michelle Samuels for Why Goes ID. So this is just some more information about me, and just to let you guys know that what these things that we're working towards, that that it is possible.